Titans, go!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs, one of your co-hosts, sitting here in Titans Tower, or at least the basement of Titans Tower. And I'm joined, of course, once again by my co-host, everyone's favorite co-host, especially the Titans, Jesse Jackson. How are you, Jesse?
I am in Titan Tower 2, enjoying the nice facilities.
Well, I keep walking around. I don't see you here, so...
Yeah, I know. Well, it is a big place.
It is a big place. All
yeah.
Right.
So, we have a good one to discuss, and a title that is very Doctor Who-ish.
Yes, I was going to make a mention of that, of course.
Oh, you were? Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so here at episode 38 of Titan Talk, we're going to talk, of course, Rose. And no, not the Doctor Who episode from 2005 starring Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. No, not that episode.
Run, Rose, run.
Run for your life.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a different podcast.
Absolutely.
That's another fantastic podcast that we'll talk about a little bit later. But this Rose is the second episode of Titans Season 2. Just came out a few days ago on September 13th, 2019. Written by Richard Hatem, or Hatem, depending on how you want to pronounce it, who wrote the Season 1 episodes, some of the better ones. Jason Todd, he wrote Donna Troy, and he wrote Dick Grayson, which is not that great, but it kind of lost a lot of impact because it got chopped up into, and that last half got pushed ahead to the Season 2 premiere.
Yes.
But he's a really character driven writer. He focuses a lot on characterization, and that's probably why I think he's one of the better Titans writers. So I just want to mention that a little bit before we get started. Directed by Nathan Hope, someone new to the show. So we get a new director this time. And this episode obviously is very big because we get the introduction of a few new characters. I like how they're kind of not overwhelming us with the characters. We get the introduction of Chelsea Zhang, as Rose Wilson, who you may know from the Disney Plus series Andy Mack, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I do not know her. I did want to check that the director, I just looked in Nathan Hope.
Yes.
Has done several Gothams.
Okay.
And had done 7 episodes of Lucifer.
I thought his name sounded familiar. All right.
Yeah, so he's actually got a pretty good resume, but the two biggest ones that we would notice is the Gotham and Lucifer. So
right, and obviously this is his Titans debut, and I think he did a really good job with this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I did too.
We also get the introduction of Hanneke Talbot as Shimmer, or as Donna Troy likes to say, Shimmer.
Yeah, I did not know this character.
No,
is that from a later Titan story, or is this
if you read the Marv Wolfman and George Perez Titans, you should know her as one of the members of the Fearsome Five.
I did not remember her.
Yes, that's Shimmer, and her brother Mammoth. May remember. Being back, obviously created by Wolfman and Perez. She's been on episodes of Star Trek Discovery, iZombie, and the series Humans, if you remember that series.
Yes, I do.
And we get the introduction of Robbie Jones as Fadai, who is apparently from Tamaran, as it turns out. And he's been on episodes of 90210, Hellcats, One Tree Hill, He's not in the episode very long, but I get the feeling we haven't seen the last of him.
What's funny is on IMDb, he isn't given a name. He's just given Temamarian.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I know him is because of the subtitles, or the captions, rather, that they had his name in the captions. Okay. So, and then also we get the introduction of another Fearsome Five member. So we have 2 members of the Fearsome Five. Will we see the other 3? I'm kind of curious. Yeah. And that's Michael Mosley as Dr. Light.
And I think this was great casting. Michael Mosley has been in a lot of stuff. He has played a lot of comedy, and he's, I know him. He was really good in Last Resort. He played a part in Castle, a small role in Castle. And I think he is great casting because he looks very likable and very, very he seems to be a very evil villain, which was kind of nice to see.
Yeah, well, if you watched him on the TV series Ozark,
I did not. Linda watches that.
He was on that. He was on that, and he was also on an episode of Elementary in addition to Castle. That's what the notes that I've got. I'm a big Elementary fan, so I thought I'd mention that.
Yes, but, I do like him on Elementary.
But I like the fact that we get several new characters, but the way they're introduced, they're not overwhelming us. They're just they're being very, very careful about how they introduce all these new characters. We still have several more to go, and that we haven't seen yet. So I guess we'll get those later on, hopefully. But it's working out rather well, I think. All right,
I agree.
Okay, topics this time. I do have a theme, but it's a very loose theme.
Okay.
Primarily because I think the third one doesn't quite mesh as well with the first 2, but so bear with me. Give me a little leeway on this one, hopefully.
All right. Good deal.
I think you'll like topic number 1, though. Topic number 1, my father's house.
Ah.
See what I did there?
Yes, you did. Thank you. Always appreciate the Springsteen shout out.
Yeah.
Or as you said in your wonderful, before we went live, I'm editing the special Bruce Springsteen birthday episode for Set Listing Bruce. Mm-hmm. Shameless plug here. And you mentioned your greeting. In your very nice message, you said, and I appreciate Set Listing Bruce gives Jesse a chance to talk Bruce without being on our other podcast. But thank you for that. Yeah, great topic. So in a lot of ways, Titan Tower is Dick's father's house.
Right.
And I got to tell you.
So do you know what I'm actually referring to in this time?
Well,
or should I actually talk about what topics we're going to talk?
Okay. Go ahead. Then I'll go to what I want to talk about.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. So obviously, that was the 1982 Springsteen song. This obviously I want to talk about Dick, like you surmised, and also want to talk about Raven, and I want to talk about Rose.
Okay.
In this segment, because Rose, as we find out, if you're not a fan of the comics, this probably was kind of a big shock to you.
Yeah.
That Rose has a rather infamous father. So that's why I want to talk about her in this segment. And I threw in Raven because Dick shares a lot of scenes with Raven in this, and they kind of discuss how his handling of bringing in Rose. So I thought it kind of worked to kind of fit her in this one.
First off, what I was going to say, and thank you for you kind of gave it. I want Dick and Bruce talking every episode. I just give me 5 minutes of them on a phone or doing. There is more character development and more of relationship in this show than I would argue almost 50 years of comics. It's just really nice to see that father-son bond and mentor, and protege. It's just really well done. And I think it helps that Ian Glenn he brings it. He is such a great actor.
Right. And
he was wonderful in Game of Thrones. And he really just gives a sense of strength and love to the role as Bruce. So I adored their phone calls back and forth.
Yeah, he basically calls Bruce to get some advice on how to handle Rose. And they kind of talk about, well, would if Bruce had the chance to do it all over again, would he deal with all the trouble that Dick caused and even the highs and lows or whatnot of their relationship? And would he have the chance to do it all again? Would he? And Bruce replied that yes, he would do everything exactly the same.
Yeah, he talked about, I had to give you a focus for your rage, and that way it's okay. You hated me, and because Bruce, Dick was very clear. You picked in someone who ultimately wants to leave you, and I would argue that's a parent's job. A parent is to raise your child so that they end up leaving. Now, you hope that there is a relationship and you have your parent-child relationship changes to one of, a little more equals because they're grown-ups. But I love that scene. I love the advice he's giving, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Now, Dick, I'm really digging Dick this season, as far as Dick Grayson this season.
I am shaking my head.
Let me preface that a little bit more.
No, I understand what you're saying.
I'm really enjoying the characterization of Dick Grayson in this season. So my question to you, here at episode 13 of Titans as an overall series, have they finally figured out how to write Dick Grayson?
I think so. I think, and we talked before we hit record, someone posted on IMDb that they said season 1 was very uneven and that they recommended you start with this episode as your first episode. Now, I don't agree with that. I think
because there's so much backstory. There's so much backstory that we learn. Yeah.
But I do think you could. I think the way and
it's a good jumping on point.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Every comic is someone's first comic.
Yeah.
And every episode could be someone's first episode. This is a good introduction to the world. But I do think that, and I don't know if it's the same writer's room or if they brought in fresh blood, but the relationships they're giving, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but last episode I mentioned, I don't remember Raven and Dick Grayson being especially tight in the comics.
No.
But I love their relationship in the series.
Right.
I believe,
it's very much an older brother, younger sister thing.
Yes, and sometimes the younger sister is smarter than the older brother, and she comes across that. It's really well done. And, talk about you pick up strays. That's what you do, and...
Right. And that's a great summation of Dick's personality, I think.
Yeah.
Is that, he's looking out for the neglected and the forgotten and the outsiders. Although that's a different group, obviously.
That is a different group.
But the misfits he's looking out for. And what he's doing here with the Titans, and this is where we get a much better grasp of this, is that the way he views this new group of Titans, the new Titans, as it were, he views them...
Which was a nice little...
nod to the new Teen Titans.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. So he views that, this revived group, as an opportunity to kind of teach and mold, or help, not really mold, but to help guide. And kind of what he said, he makes this comment about that Titans Tower is a place for young heroes to figure out how they can be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very noble mission. It's almost kind of like a little bit of the X-Men, where you have this school for gifted youngsters. They bring them in and try to teach them how to control their powers and use them, to help a world that hates and fears them. But it's good to kind of see Dick taking on that kind of mentor role.
And I like the foreshadowing of when he's talking to Jason, which, by the way, I think they're writing much better.
Yeah.
He's just enough of a jerk.
Yeah.
But not, just a brashness, not a jerkiness, I guess.
Well, we got the inference that 3 months had passed since the previous episode. There was a bit of a time jump. Yeah. So this is obviously 3 months of Dick trying to coach Jason a little bit. And I really like that scene that I think you were going to talk about, that where Dick kind of manipulates Jason into uses Jason's ego to basically convince him that he needs to step up and be more of a leader, because his excuse is that, well, hey, Gar and Rachel, they they look up to you.
Yeah.
So that feeds his ego. And so he says, Dick tells Jason, well, when you're on point, they're on point.
Yeah.
And I really like the way he kind of manipulated Jason into kind of thinking better about how he approaches the other Titans.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Bruce as a leader did it through intimidation and not necessarily fear, but just, this is my way or the highway. And Dick is a little more, if I mix my metaphors, of a player's coach.
Right.
He's
been there. He grew up like that.
Yeah, and he knows, they joke about the team of sidekicks, and he talked about, well, what we were trying to be is our best selves. And but the thing I loved about that, not only the relationship, but, well, if I'm Robin, what are you? And, he basically, and he's like, I'm thinking about that.
He says that's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of foreshadowing that, Nightwing is coming.
Nightwing
is coming.
Just everybody be patient. It's coming, guys.
Yes.
I know everybody wants it now, but wait. It's coming. Don't relax.
But remember, in the comic, he went several episodes where
issues
after he got rid of several issues. So go ahead.
Yeah, it took him a little while to figure out who he wanted to be, and it wasn't until the Titans. We talked about this here on the podcast.
Yeah.
That when the Titans get captured by Deathstroke and brought to the Hive to fulfill this contract in the comics, that that's the moment he becomes Nightwing.
Yeah.
And it's a very big moment.
So I thought the introduction of Rose, to go to our third point of our first topic, was really well handled. The actress is very charming and likable. A little bit of scary. I like that she didn't trust them immediately. I like that Dick immediately kind of felt like at first you would think, well, he needs to subdue her. This is another supervillain. But he could figure out somehow that this was someone who needed his help. And I liked his trustingness. I also this is a small thing, but just like in The Chief on the Doom Patrol has a sweet tooth.
Yes.
I kind of like that Dick is a caffeine addict.
Right.
That you see him drinking coffee a lot, and they even make that point. I like coffee, and Dick goes, "We have that in common." I thought that was a nice little character addition. Point, because you figure he's had a lot of late nights and sleepless, on patrol. So I like that.
Damn good coffee and hot.
I had to throw that in there.
Yes,
right.
And so it appears, unlike me,
yes,
I want my coffee like a candy bar with flavored creamer and Splenda. Dick likes it as dark as midnight and bitter as
as black. And to use another Twin Peaks reference, as black as midnight on a moonless night.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yeah. See, I don't drink coffee. Like Sting, I don't drink coffee. I take tea, my dear.
Yes.
So,
but okay, so we've had the trifecta now.
Yes. Now, so
we've talked about Doctor Who,
right?
Twin Peaks,
yes,
and Bruce Springsteen on this episode. 15 minutes into us, we have hit the trifecta.
All right. I'm sure we could hit more if we got around to it.
Yes.
So stay tuned, kids. We're in for a ride. So with Rose, now after watching this episode,
Yes.
when my theory that I brought up last week that Rose is probably going to be a substitute for Tara in the comics and end up betraying the Titans. After watching this episode, I'm even more sold on this theory. How about you?
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, are we supposed to see Joey this episode too? This season.
This season, yes, we are getting Jericho.
Okay.
Yes.
Jericho.
And I'm hoping that will be after the Titans get captured, like in the comics, because that's he steps up out of the shadows and becomes Jericho at the same time that Dick becomes Nightwing. So I'm hoping they kind of recreate that moment together.
Yeah, I think this was a nice combination of, and shout out to novelist and comic book writer Brad Meltzer, who, if you Google Brad Meltzer Titans, he wrote a beautiful article about how Tara broke his heart when he originally read this series.
It was such an innovative storyline, the Judas Contract, which this season is based on,
right?
And because it was so different, we never had a hero join the team and then betray that team, like that before, and actually turn out to be a bad guy, and someone that allies with the threat that they're facing. So Rose, she claims she's on the run from her father. She's trying to hide from her father.
Yes.
She's got a freshly bandaged eye, and after losing her eye, presumably. Now, if you've read the comics, especially Jeff Johns' run of Teen Titans, you know that Rose, the reason she lost that eye in the comics is because, surprise, she took her own eye out as a way to prove her loyalty to guess who? Her father, Deathstroke. So my question, I'm wondering, obviously, is that the case here? And did Rose take her own eye out in the TV series and as a way to prove her loyalty? So I'm wondering if we're going to get a nice surprise flashback after the reveal that she's a bad guy. And we'll get to see that scene where she takes her own eye out.
Maybe, I don't know. Were you impressed with
Rose
so far?
Because she didn't say how she lost her eye.
No, she didn't.
Now nobody else is asking, "Hey, how'd you lose your eye?" Which kind of surprised me. You think people would at least be asking that?
Yeah.
But she doesn't volunteer that information, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was your question?
I was saying, did you like
Chelsea Zhang?
Did you like her?
Yeah, I did. She's got kind of a little girl voice. She's not quite as authoritative vocally as I would like for Rose, but the actress I thought was just fine. She does give that little bit of skittishness or distrust and a hint of menace, which is, I think, necessary for Rose, who becomes a Ravager later on. I think there's potential there, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun once the reveal comes out, presumably, and she gets to play that dark side a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see. But,
and this is not spoilers because we don't know.
Right. Yeah. This is just me trying to make an educated guess about this.
And I think it's a good one. But
because we don't have Tara cast in this story, and if you're going to do the Judas Contract, well, you better hurry up and introduce Tara if you're going to do it.
Right.
Otherwise, somebody's going to be filling that role, and logically, and this is where I'm approaching it, is that, well, if it's not Tara, then somebody, and who better than Rose Wilson?
Yeah, absolutely.
In my estimation, I guess. All right. Anything else about these three characters before I move on?
No. I was very good start and really nice.
Okay, so topic number 2, and this one should be rather obvious given the episode. We Are Family. And of course, that's a nod to the Sister Sledge song from 1979 that annoyed the crap out of Donna Troy. So you can probably guess that we're going to talk about Donna Troy and Corey, and we're also talking about Shimmer.
All right.
In this segment. Because because in this segment we find out that, hey, Donna and Corey are fighting crime in a van. And now I want a spin-off series with these two fighting crime.
Thank you. I was just going to say, if you are not a fan of these two together, you have no soul.
Right.
They are perfect together. And as I always talk about, Connor Leslie on her Twitter feed talked about singing in a van, eating donuts was her favorite day ever.
Right.
The prop people said, "What kind of donuts you want?" And she said, "Is there a Krispy Kreme nearby?" And so she says they're eating Krispy Kremes.
I'm all for that Krispy Kreme glazed donut. So good.
Their chemistry together was amazing. When she said, "Can we at least move to the, can I get a little bit of some 80 Madonna, right?"
Yeah. And she's just like, let me dip my toe into the 80s, please, and then just a little 5 minutes of Madonna. That's all I ask.
And and Corey just turns the volume.
She turns the volume up.
It is,
and then Donna's just like, "That's it, I'm out. I'm going out and getting tacos."
Yeah. I love the feeling of sisterhood.
Right.
And it was greatness. I really, really love this.
Yeah.
And
what a contrast for the first episode of this season, because while they were trying to get into that force field, and to get into Trigon, the house to rescue Rachel, they were pretty argumentative with one another, confrontational, and here, presumably 3 months later, we get the relationship between the two that we kind of wanted to see, especially if you're a fan of Wolfman and Perez's New Teen Titans, because Donna and Corey are essentially very much sisters in that comic book series. And so here we get the first really good look at that, I think.
Yeah.
Even so, sisters kind of annoy the crap out of each other sometimes, and Corey in this case and Donna are no exception, especially with the music. And it was kind of interesting to see them just out there in a van on the street trying to track down Shimmer.
Yeah, it was great.
It was great. And so they finally get a hold of her. We get to see Shimmer live action for the very first time. And she uses her transmutation powers to... All we get to see is really her throw a newspaper that she turns into like this metal blade that flies right past. She doesn't get to do much else before she gets taken down. But it's a pretty cool action sequence. And we get to see Donna and Corey working together and rather effectively.
Yeah, like high and low.
And Donna lassos Shimmer, yanks her forward so that Corey can punch her out.
And they've given Corey different clothes. So that's
new hairstyle. So are you happier now?
I am much happier. I did not like that coat that you put in last year.
The 70s hooker costume.
Yeah, it did not.
Hopefully this is the last we've seen of that forever.
But it was really them together, I think, was really well done. It just there is a friendship there. There's a bonding that you could tell over the last 3 months they have developed a friendship, and that was nice to see.
So while after they take down Shimmer and deal with the cops, they start heading for the taco truck finally.
Yeah.
And Donna gets pulled away because
not
chicken. No.
Okay, beef it is. Like I love that
beef tacos.
Yeah, yes. I love that you pick, but I don't want this. And I don't want this.
I want what I want.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But Donna gets pulled away because she gets a call from Roy Harper, you guys, a.k.a. Speedy, a.k.a. Arsenal. So if you're a longtime Titans fan, you had to be very happy that Roy Harper got a shout out in this episode.
I really like that. I've got to take this call. Yeah.
And we found out that apparently they were working. The reason that they were they thought that Shimmer was in that location was because they got intel from Roy Harper, as we learn. So we actually got a couple of shout-outs to Roy.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get to see him or hear him, but obviously Roy Harper exists in this Titans continuity, and I was very happy about that.
Yeah. This is...
So maybe once Arrow goes off the air, maybe we can get a Roy Harper, you guys.
This is a full-fledged DC universe.
Yes.
We have had, obviously, Batman. We have seen the Titans. He's mentioned Superman.
Right.
There has to be a Wonder Woman.
Well, yeah, they reference Wonder Woman. Yeah, Donna.
Yeah.
Has. Yeah.
So, and to see Roy Harper, is
we know we're getting Aqualad.
Yeah.
So Aquaman.
Yeah, because they got mentioned him, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So this is awesome.
Yeah. So it's very cool. And so while she's doing that, takes that call, Corey goes off to the taco truck by herself. Gets confronted by someone, presumably from her home planet of Tamaran, a fellow Tamaranian, and who introduces him. Well, he doesn't really introduce himself. He just basically confronts her. She seems to know him.
Yes.
And she asked if anybody else is there, and he says, no, just him. And this is Fadai that I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And he tases her. Mm-hmm. And kidnaps her rather quickly, and Donna comes finally around the corner. Corey's gone. Mm-hmm. And so what did you think of a fellow Tamaranian showing up to confront Corey this early?
Well, I love that he called her princess.
Mm-hmm. So she's obviously Princess Coriander of Tamaran.
I had complained at the end of the season when we did our wrap up that with all the announcements of all the cast, I'm like, it's just going to be too busy of a season. I'm not feeling good, Charles, because they didn't, the story pacing in the first season was off. I'm worried they're throwing too much into the kitchen sink, kind of everything. But it worked. I mean, this kind of worked really well. Now we'll see how they execute
we get just a taste. We get a taste of it. They don't overwhelm us, and I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was like you. I was concerned. I'm like, they're going to throw all these characters at us, and everybody's just going to be like, oh, this is too much. I can't keep track. Where's my scorecard? Mm-hmm. But the pace that they're doing it, mm-hmm. They're just a few characters here, a few characters there, and it's working out rather well.
Yeah, and I'm sure that'll be your next topic, Blinded by the Light.
Well, I was going to be, that's pretty close, actually. Mm-hmm. So we might as well go on to our third topic, unless you had anything else.
No. I love that.
Okay, so third topic, you light up my life.
All right, pretty good. 80 songs. The theme is 80 songs.
Well, actually, no. The theme is more family.
Okay, good. Okay.
So, and this is why I thought the third one didn't quite work, because you had My Father's House, you had We Are Family.
Okay.
And You Light Up My Life is more like a family member you care for.
Yes.
But because I thought this would be a good place to talk about.
Okay.
Hank and Dawn,
mm-hmm.
because they are in a relationship and care about one another, and also view the Titans as family.
Okay.
So it's a family theme, essentially. But because of what happens at the end of their story arc in this episode, there's a tie-in to Dr. Light. So I thought I'd use that as an excuse to talk about Dr. Light, the other member of the Fearsome Five that we get in this episode.
Yeah.
So You Light Up My Life seemed rather obvious.
Good.
But let's talk about Hank and Dawn, and then we'll get into Dr. Light here in a minute.
Okay.
So Hank and Dawn, as we find out 3 months later, Hank has gone out to this farm in Wyoming, and he's helping this guy named Ellis, who's got some addiction problems, and it's like a horse ranch or something, and he's kind of guiding him, showing him how to ride a horse and whatnot, presumably as part of his counseling.
Yeah, I got the feeling this was a combination, and not a dude ranch that you pay, but this was a like a rehab center.
Yes.
For you get back to nature, you help work that. Um, I I I know why they made the decision.
Yeah.
Because we need Hank and Dawn in the story. But I was a little sad because they looked like they were building a happy life. At first. I mean, he seems to be really good. He's in a good place. They seem to be.
He seems like he's gotten over it, or at least he's controlled his addiction. He's gotten off the whatever drugs he was taking.
Yeah, and he seemed to be at peace with himself.
And they've quit, presumably.
Yes.
Being superheroes.
Right.
They've quit Hawk and Dove.
Yeah.
Or at least as far as Hank is concerned.
Right.
As it turns out.
And I'm like, this is good. They're in a good place.
But as it turns out,
First off, Dawn has decided she still needs the rush.
Yeah.
By the way, the incompetent meth. This was not Breaking Bad. These are three incompetent kids making meth. It looked like horrible meth.
This was Breaking Bad.
Yes. And I love her beating him up.
Breaking badly.
Yeah, and then her making him call the cops. Go ahead, say it. Three incompetents. That was
three competent S-heads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Your mom would be proud. And I love that Hank is like, no, why are you doing this? This is dangerous. I don't want you going solo. I don't want you without, not having someone to watch your back. But I can't. Because when I do this, it leads to pain, which leads to me taking painkillers, which will get me back to my addiction. This is better for us if we don't do this. And she's going, but I need this. I thought that was a great discussion. And then everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it shows that Hank doesn't trust Dove being out there on her own fighting crime.
Yeah.
He feels that she needs him there.
And
so if she does this, he has to be there. And if he's there, then he's going to fall back and relapse. Mm-hmm. And Dawn is telling him, look, the reason I did this without telling you is because I don't want you to relapse.
Yeah. And I understand. I did not take that as a bad thing. That it's not that he didn't. It's not that he doesn't trust her and he doesn't think that she can do it on her own. He just knows it's safer with him helping. And he worries about her. He worries because he adores her. So it's out of love that he's worried about this. Now, I get her going, look, dude, don't be so overproductive. I thought it was a very interesting discussion to have. And I was impressed that they had the kind of debate, and it was left open. And then,
well, he gives her this ultimatum, which you should never do.
You never do.
You never give ultimatums.
No.
And so Hank gives her the ultimatum. Look, if you're going to keep doing this, then I'm out of this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either like you quit being Dove, or I quit us.
Yeah.
So, and that it kind of is left hanging there because all of a sudden Ellis comes in and opens his mouth, and his mouth starts glowing with light.
Yep.
And as we kind of see earlier in the episode, that's a really bad thing. Mm-hmm. And he starts building up with this energy, and so much so that light starts filling the house. So Hank grabs Dawn, they run out of the house, and the house explodes. This log cabin, which is a really nice log cabin, so kind of a waste.
Yes.
Kind of a shame there. But this log cabin goes kablooey and blows up real good.
It does.
And then Dawn tells Hank, well, we need to get a hold of Dick about this.
Yeah.
Dick Grayson. And Hank kind of is reluctant at first, but kind of agrees. And so they call Dick, and who tells them to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And they say they're on their way.
Yeah.
So, because, obviously, and Hank figures right off the bat Dr. Light's involved.
Yeah, he knew right away.
So what did you? Well, let's go on to Dr. Light now.
Okay.
A little bit. We get introduced to him. Someone springs him from prison. We don't find out who did that. Mm-hmm. He just kind of walks out of his cell, and there's all these guards that are like unconscious when he walks out.
And then he's... Go ahead. No, I love his, I am going to have some fun.
Right.
It's like, oh, man.
Yeah, now in the comics, Dr. Light's kind of is portrayed as a bit of a loser.
Yes.
He's essentially had a lot of defeats. He started off being this Justice League villain.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up, joining with the Fearsome Five. They fought the Titans a lot and got defeated a lot. And Dr. Light kind of struck out on his own a little bit. Got defeated by a bunch of, really low-powered superheroes. Became a bit of a joke. He ends up in the Suicide Squad, where he got himself killed and resurrected, then killed and resurrected, then killed and resurrected, and then he in this great one-issue story, The Life and Death and Life and Death and Life and Death of Dr. Light. Mm-hmm. Highly recommended if you want to check it out. And he becomes kind of a joke character. But here, on the TV show, he's much more formidable.
Yes.
He's not just some clown in a suit. He has this circuitry embedded in his arm, almost like tattoos. And so he's got this internal power. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty formidable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What did you make of this? What did you think of this take on Dr. Light?
I liked it a lot. He seemed very scary.
Yeah.
It was
much more in control than we saw him in the comics.
Absolutely.
Much more of a threat,
yes.
I think.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, hopefully he doesn't end up becoming this rapist like Brad Meltzer turned him into in the series Identity Crisis.
Yes, that's two Brad Meltzer.
Yeah, exactly.
In the podcast. Yeah.
But yeah, Meltzer turned him into this really disgusting rapist character, and a lot of fans haven't forgave him for that.
Yeah.
For that series. I'll just put it out there because it's very controversial, that series.
Yeah.
But here, yes, yeah, this Michael Mosley's Dr. Light is very formidable. He kind of enjoys tormenting this one guard that's still alive and struggling to get away, and he enjoys watching him blow up real good.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he's doing something that causes Ellis to blow up real good. And then later on in the episode, he attacks Dick and Rose in the as Rose is kind of saying goodbye to Dick.
Yeah.
And Dick basically forcing Rose to stay with Dick. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of wondering, well, maybe Deathstroke is the one that I was thinking originally Simon, so we get more Fearsome Five characters, but I kind of wonder if Deathstroke is the one who freed Dr. Light, and Dr. Light is working with Deathstroke. What do you think? Because how would Dr. Light know that Dick and Rose were there?
It's a good question.
Right?
Yeah.
There has to be a connection there somewhere.
Yeah, I like that.
It doesn't seem like, okay, they attack the Hawk and Dove. Okay. That could just been something random because of Ellis. Mm-hmm. But them attacking, Dr. Light attacking Dick and Rose out of nowhere, mm-hmm. Especially at a very crucial moment, leads me to think that maybe it's Deathstroke who freed Dr. Light.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it could be.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Okay. Anything about this episode that I haven't covered? Do you think that you want to talk about?
No, I liked all the character. As you mentioned, this actor, I mean, the writer seems to do a really good job.
Richard Adem, yeah. He's really good at characterization. I mean, everybody, all the characters, I mean, Gar, Jason, Rachel, they all have great moments. There's a great moment where Rachel, kind of forgot to talk about this during our Rachel segment. She falls asleep trying to study Sun Tzu's The Art of War, Chapter 5, Energy, for those wondering.
Yeah.
And I've kind of read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, by the way.
Oh.
And because it's
that on the bragging montage.
Eastern philosophy. I kind of dig it.
Nice.
Very cool book. Very cool book. And you know, she's bored by it. She's falling asleep trying to memorize the stuff that Dick wants her to memorize. And all of a sudden we kind of see her soul self leaking out of her fingers and swirling around her. And then all of a sudden she wakes up and there's these scratches on her side. Mm-hmm. What did you make of that moment?
So I thought that was interesting. It's a little subtle that there's more to her than they've shown so far. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to repeat myself. I love how they have made this character. The Rachel and Raven character is just really good in this series.
And it kind of helps that Tegan Croft is a little older now.
Yeah.
And she's a little sassier and you know, a little more fun.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll see how that goes. But obviously that darkness is still there. Yeah. And as is something I pointed out to my brother-in-law, John Brockhouse. Hi, John, if you're listening.
Hey, John. Yes. Hope you are.
He, you know, as long as that forehead jewel is still there on Raven's forehead, Trigon's influence is still there.
Yes.
She's still connected to Trigon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering if they're doing this thing from the Titans comics, from the Wolfman and Perez era again, where, if you remember, Raven kind of slowly changed.
Yes.
And became more corrupted by Trigon secretly, unaware, without everybody, all the other Titans really figuring out until it was too late how much she had changed. Actually, George Perez, the artist, everybody thought it was like a natural evolution of his artwork, but it was actually a deliberate physical change of Raven's face to become more angular and Trigon-like.
Yeah.
And so that when Trigon reasserts himself and comes back, Raven is much more in his thrall. And I'm kind of wondering if it's kind of going to be a running subplot building up to Trigon's return at some point.
I think it could be. I think it could be very easy.
Again, this is just me speculating. No actual evidence or foreknowledge here.
Well,
I'm just kind of spitballing and throwing out some theories.
You think about it. She kind of took care of Trigon almost a little easy, you know, and so I think that could be, you know, I think that's a valid concern and a valid theory.
Because we don't think Trigon's really dead, do we?
No.
He's in another dimension.
Exactly.
So he'll be coming back at some point.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the last of him. But obviously we need to keep an eye on Raven and see what's up there. I'm kind of curious what those scratches were. I'm kind of wondering if her soul self, like, we don't know how much time passed.
Right.
So did her soul self go off and encounter something and then get wounded, and then when it returned to her body, it manifested itself as these scratches on her physical body?
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot to think about, and we'll see. I really think that I'm curious to see how they're going to do this. It does feel like the only other thing I want to talk, we're getting the band back together, right? Yes. It was 3 months. Everyone's kind of gone. We already have
And now we got a threat. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jason's there, Gar's there, Rachel's there, Hank and Dawn are heading there. You would
Gar
think,
can fight now. How cool is that?
That was very cool. And
Gotta
then
give a little shout out to Gar fans.
Yeah, and then we've got the whole. We assume Donna is going to reach out with, Corey missing. So that'll be nice.
Yeah. So that'll be another piece of the puzzle, I think, and we'll see how that plays out. But obviously they have to tell everybody, somebody kidnapped Corey, you guys.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice how Shimmer threatened to see Donna again.
Yes.
As she was taken away. So again, I'm fingers crossed for the Fearsome Five, you guys.
There we go. We're 2 out of the 5.
We got 2 out of the 5. All right. Okay. We'll see if it happens. Anything else about this episode before we move on to our favorite quotes?
No, I think let's move on.
Okay. So you got any?
I have just one.
Okay, go for it.
That when Dick and Rachel are in the coffee shop and they kind of have the back and forth. I didn't write the whole thing down, but I actually
I think I did.
I took a picture of that's Titans, good men and women not doing nothing.
Yeah, I got the whole thing.
Oh, please share then.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't mean to step all over you.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so Dick starts off going, "Look, Rach, it doesn't matter what you're called. It matters what you do. We're training for whatever's next. There's never a shortage of people who want to screw things up for the rest of us. You know what they say, all it takes is for evil to succeed," and it gets interrupted by Rachel, and she finishes, "is for good men and women to do nothing." And then Dick comes back and says, "That's Titans, good men and women not doing nothing."
Yeah.
So I thought that was rather a good statement.
Mm-hmm. It was really.
And then Raven says, Rachel makes this comment, "Well, you could put that on a T-shirt, Dirk."
Yes.
It's because the barista, of course, screwed up his name.
Yeah. I love their relationship.
Yeah. I don't know how you screw up Dick on a barista thing, but it's a barista thing. I like Donna and Corey in the van. Mm-hmm. Of course, they had a lot of great lines. Corey brings back the donuts, which obviously made me really want donuts watching that. Donna says, "Did you get any jellies?" And Corey says, "No one likes jellies." Donna replies, "Maybe not on Tamaran, but humans love jellies. That's kind of why we invented them." And then Corey says, "So now you're human. Got it." And Donna replies, rather interestingly, "I'm half human, and that half really likes jellies."
That's great. That was really good. Yes.
So Donna admits that she's half human, you guys.
Yeah.
So interesting. Donna and Corey with the bit with the radio, the boombox, and Donna says, "They did write music after 1979. They didn't just crank out 'We Are Family' and call it quits."
Yes.
And Corey goes, "They should have." And Donna says, "Can we please dip a toe into the 80s? Just 5 minutes of Madonna. That's all I need."
It was good. Yeah, I like that.
That was a lot of fun. Jason, Gar, and Rachel, when they were kind of talking about voting Rose out of the house, like all Big Brother, right? Jason goes, "Look, my vote is we kick her ass out." And Gar goes, Okay, wait. Who says we even get a vote?" Mm-hmm. And then Rachel interjects and she goes, "Who says she even wants to stay? Look, it's hard to believe, but maybe her idea of paradise isn't sharing a bathroom with you, Jason."
Yes, that was good.
That was a fun line. And then, of course, Corey and Donna going after Shimmer. Corey asked Donna, "So what is the deal between you and Shimmer anyway?" And Donna's like, "The deal?" And Corey goes, "Yeah, why are you so desperate to take her down?" Donna replies, "Well, first, her name is Shimmer. That's just annoying."
Yes.
Too funny. We didn't get to find out what second was, but
no, we didn't.
But rather good. So, what was your rating for this one?
I liked it a lot. I give it 9 out of 10 donuts in a van.
Nice. We are in sync. I really enjoyed this episode too. Strong second season episode, and hopefully hopefully, keep my fingers crossed, we're finally on track with Titans.
Yes, I agree.
So, 9 out of 10 eye bandages. I give this
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, because that's obviously the key that with the DNA that Jason uses to track down Rose's father, Deathstroke, on the Titans computer.
Yes.
All right. Don't have any Titans Tower news about Titans or anything this week, but we do have some feedback in our Tell It to Titan Talk section. Yay! So, gentleman named Stephen Marshall writes in, and that's Stephen with a V, not a PH.
Okay.
So, hi, Stephen. How are you? Thank you so much for writing in. His subject is, I'll be tuning in every week, which is great right there. I mean, perfect email right off the bat.
Yes.
He goes, hi, guys. We had a brief chat on Twitter. I'm at STEBOB, so Staybob, 1984 on Twitter, so at Staybob 1984. I listened to your episode 1 of Titan Season 2 review of Trigon. Really enjoyed it, and I'll be definitely tuning in weekly after I watch the episodes.
Yay.
So you're awesome, Stephen, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Way to go. Jason, he continues, I really didn't catch that Jason may have told Hank what he wanted to hear regarding Dick. I assumed he was remorseful and was hoping that he was. So Stephen kind of sides with you, Jesse, on that one.
Yeah.
Still, either way, I'm excited to see him meet the end of a crowbar somewhere down the line. Winking emoji.
Wow.
So yes, a reference to how Jason Todd originally meets his end at the end of a crowbar, after the Joker wails on him in the classic A Death in the Family storyline. Stephen continues, the thing I'm most looking forward to is seeing Superboy. I'm a huge Connor Kent fan, and I hope they do the character justice, pun intended. With Connor debuting soon and Bruce Wayne having already appeared on the show, do you think we'll likely get Superman and or his alter ego Clark Kent somewhere down the line? I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. It would be interesting
because Clark is currently appearing on Supergirl, so I don't know if they'll get to use him.
I would like
here.
Yeah, the way we're seeing Bruce Wayne.
I hope so.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Clark Kent.
Yeah,
maybe in that we wouldn't get kind of area.
Yeah, we wouldn't get to see Superman in costume, but we get to see Clark Kent.
Yeah, that would be interesting, I think.
Yeah, and obviously that would start a whole. Yeah, that would start a whole new debate of who do you cast as Clark Kent for Titans.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So if you got any thoughts, write in.
Yeah.
About that. He says, if we do, I hope he doesn't start out like he did on Young Justice, where he didn't even talk to Connor. Yeah, that was kind of weird about that.
That's weird.
Anyway, guys, thanks for the time. Keep up the great work, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Well, keep up the great email.
Yes.
Keep up the great email, Stephen.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. So, if you want to be like Stephen Marshall, and please do, please write to us at TitanTalkCast@gmail.com. That's TitanTalkCast@gmail.com, the Gmail. And you can also reach out to us on Twitter, please do, at Titan Talkcast on the Twitter, or on Facebook, of course, at Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. And now both Twitter and Facebook, of course, is where we post a lot of news about the show, stuff coming up, any updates, whatever, or any cool Titans news that we'd like to pass along. So it's great. It'd be great if you guys liked and follow us there. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. Pulling the curtain back a little bit, lot more people liked us talking Titans than they did Doom Patrol. So that is great. I am loving.
Fine. Well, we are Titan Talk, the Titans podcast.
Yes, we
so
are.
I kind of get that.
So it was so nice. It's so nice to be back talking Titans.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, see, Doom Patrol has a lot of fans. I'm one of them.
Yes.
But I think Titans has more fans.
Yes.
So hopefully everybody checks out both shows. I think both shows are worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Personally. Jesse, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
Well, you can hear me talk about the previous mentioned Doctor Who podcast, Next Stop Everywhere, where Charles and I and guest companions talk about both classic and modern Doctor Who episodes. We talk about Big Finish episodes, comic books, who knows what we may talk. If it's in the Doctor Who umbrella, we talk about it. You can hear Charles and I, if you're just now catching up on Krypton or The Boys, the Fandom Zone podcast where Charles and I talk about, that's our off-season episode. When we're not talking Titans, we switch over to Fandom Zone to talk comic book TV shows. So please check that out if you are just going through The Boys, which I recommend strongly. And I do think Krypton Season 2 is worth a rewatch. And then lastly, my music podcast, Bruce Springsteen fan podcast, Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world. And in fact, this week's episode we'll be talking to Gabriel, who is from Australia. And Charles,
that's cool.
Yeah, Charles, how about you? Where can they hear your fine work? And don't correct it. It is fine work.
Well, I'm glad you think so. And I hope everybody does out there as well. I'm at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Would definitely appreciate you following me there. Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. And my blog of geeky things. You've heard it once already.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Titan Talk. All kinds of Titans news, Doom Patrol news as it comes out, comic book sci-fi news, news in my other podcasts they do for Southgate Media Group, including the aforementioned Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast they do with Jesse and other special guest companions, and Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc., etc., and the Phantom Zone podcast that Jesse mentioned, where we talked Krypton Season 2 recently, and we did a kind of The Boys Season 1 wrap-up special. We did that, and we're kind of in the off-season, obviously, because we're talking Titans right now. But when other comic book shows come down the line, I know Watchmen's coming up soon in October, which looks really good, you guys.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Entertainment Weekly just did they recommended the 10 fall TV shows you should watch, and they didn't just do network, they did through all the media, and Watchmen was one of them. And this was a critic who'd never read the comic, never watched the movie, and they said they kept having to go to Wikipedia to try to figure out who people were, but they said they were amazed by how good it was.
Okay, good. So that's encouraging,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is.
So we may have to talk about that on
We
the
might
Phantom
have
Zone.
to. Yes, we will.
Yeah. All right. So please check out those podcasts. We definitely appreciate it. And please like our Facebook pages there or on Twitter. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening, you guys. And next time on Titan Talk, we're going to talk Ghosts, the third episode of Titan Season 2. I don't know what's about because, hey, they didn't provide a description. But we did see Dr. Light in the little preview image. So presumably we get more with Dr. Light. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get more with Rose. And hopefully find out a little bit more about what happened to Corey, or probably get a lot of the Titans together once again. So we'll see. So everybody come on back, do that next week. And Jesse, anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm really impressed so far. 2 for 2 on the season. They wrapped up everything really well last week. This week they did a good job of kind of setting us up, but yes, still giving a satisfying episode. So good job. Looking forward to next week.
Yep, Season 2 so far seems to be an upgrade over Season 1, as we were hoping. And let's hope it continues, guys.
Yeah. So
keep it up, guys. All right, so everybody come on back. Next time, we're going to talk Ghosts. So who you get a call, right? Keep that in mind. And we'll see you next time right here on Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. Goodbye, everybody.